Tonight is Monday, March 25th, 2019. This is the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter. It is 7 o'clock p.m. We will call the meeting to order. Will all please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
All in favor of the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next, we have the minutes for our March 11th, 2019 meeting. Those minutes appear on pages 3 through 5. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Next, we will address visitors. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any agenda item? Seeing no one.
Nope.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any matter whatsoever? I think we have one tonight. Mr. Gay, come on up. Give us your name and address and your home. Well, give us your home address, and then I know you're here. You own some rental properties, so maybe where those addresses are also that you're concerned about. Thank you.
As you know, my legal name is Rodney Gay, but I go by Chip.
Okay.
I live at 111 Cedar Street, Mankato, Minnesota. I'm here I own 3 properties, a duplex, a lot, and a 4-plex on North 3rd Street. So I'm here to talk about that. If you were there on the 16th, I sent Mr. Moulton pictures. I just emailed them to him. The road was flooded. I mean, literally flooded. And it dried up about 6 days later is when it mostly is dry. It's still not completely dry. There are potholes in the road. There's a stick in one of the pictures I sent you that's about 1 foot long. There's potholes that are this big. It has to be one of the worst roads in the city of St. Peter, if not the worst. I drove around the city tonight, could not find a road that was anywhere near that bad. I know I've had discussions with last year. They've talked about redoing the road. I don't know what the solutions are. I'm going to get hammered if we have assessments and we do that whole road and stuff. I work full-time at Mayo Clinic, and my assessments could equal my 1 year's salary. So, I don't know what the solution is, but something needs to be done about that road. If we can pave it, I called a couple years ago to get the potholes filled, and the city never came and filled the potholes. I've had complaints during one of the last snowstorms. 3 of my tenants, one of whom's my son that lives there, said the road didn't get plowed. It was slushy, it was wet, people were almost getting stuck. And then it stays a lake. You guys require people to plow their sidewalks and you charge them $75. Well, what about the road when it's a lake? And I sent you a picture of that, so if you'd like to share that. So I'm just asking that something needs to be done. There has to be a little drainage or something, or even just put a nice piece of pavement over the top. I know the neighbors. Larry, he takes care of mowing and snow plowing. The guy, Larry Hinden, he lives next door. His assessments they're gonna kill him. And I understand that, and I know, and I've talked to some of the neighbors. But there's got to be some kind of solution. And that's just what I'm here to. And I've talked to different people over the years, and nothing's been done. And I know there were some meetings last year. Nothing got moved forward. So if we can move forward on that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we've talked. Well, like I say, there was meetings last year. We had a few people that lived out there turned out. The thing that we have is that the assessments, yes, you were saying equal to salary. There is a deal where you don't get assessed all in 1 year.
I understand that.
They get spread over.
I know how
time. But it is something that we've talked about, just putting an overlayment on. that would be a waste of money at this point, because the base and the curbs and the drainage and everything, it wouldn't do anything. Pete, I don't know what else we can add, except for, we always, like I say, it's been on our radar for a few years, but to get a conforming attitude as far as what people are willing to pay for it because of the policy that the city has for developing that, or to get the road in, it's kind of restrictive if not everybody agrees to it. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything, or Pete, if you want to say what we can do at this point.
Just that we are continuing to work with a variety of different questions and concerns there. I think financially, Chip, you pointed out that that's one of the biggest concerns. So we take that into consideration. We're also working with the industry that's in that area to try to work on stormwater issues, and they've been great to work with and cooperative. So we're hoping that we can work through that this spring and summer.
So it sounds like there's probably going to be nothing done. You're not going to fill the potholes.
Well, I would think maintenance-wise, we're gonna, we'll come out and do
Do
that.
some maintenance, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just normal maintenance. You're talking about the snow plowing situation. I'm not sure what happened there. I know the whole city kind of got behind, but
Yep.
if it didn't
Yeah.
get, not that that's an excuse. You still pay your taxes. You're
Yep.
you're entitled to services just like everybody else. But yeah, like I say, it's been an area that has been brought to our attention, for years, and to get, like say, everybody to comply with what I think should be done is a very, very big expense. But that doesn't mean we can't take some proactive measures
Yep.
in order to try to alleviate some of this, what you're talking about.
Yes. So every time it rains, the road floods. I bet every single one of you lives on a better road, and if this was your road, you'd do something about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That is
Okay.
probably the worst road in town.
Yep.
I don't know of any that are worse. There's maybe some alleys, but they probably aren't as bad.
Well, somebody that I talked to thought it wasn't even a paved road at
Yeah.
the city.
Yeah.
When I talked to them, and I was like, "No, this is a paved road." So,
Well, yeah, it kind of a paved road. Roger?
So have you talked to the neighbors about being cooperative with assessments? I mean, 'cause
no,
that's-
I haven't talked to them about
Okay.
the assessment. Other than I've talked to Larry about it,
Right.
and he's the property value of his house, and what they were looking at for assessments.
Yeah.
It would, he's a retired
Yeah.
guy, and his house isn't worth that much money.
Yeah, and that's the thing with assessments like that, and that's one of the problems we have. You can't, there's a state law that says if you're assessing somebody a certain amount, the city or the government entity has to prove to you that your value of your house has gone up by that much by the improvement. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Because $40,000 or whatever, $30,000 added onto some of those properties, just because you have a hard surface road, it's probably
Yeah.
not going to add that to it.
Yep.
But I'm not trying to brush you off, but I mean, we will do corrective action as much as we can. I know that one year there was some kind of a different overlay, or not overlay, but a fill type of thing you guys,
Yeah, we did some seal coating on that road in the past, and it was a temporary fix. Springs like we've had this year, the
Right.
moisture gets underneath that and lifts
Yep.
it up, and you're back to junk and base.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
I went to Nicollet today, and man, Highway 99 is just the worst I've
Yeah,
seen it in
the roads are
30
bad
years.
everywhere.
Yeah.
That's winter twirl
But
up
that
traffic.
doesn't mean we can't do some proactive
Yep.
and well, in this case, reactive things to your property.
That
or
would be
to the
great.
road.
One other quick thing I want to talk about, the city utility bills. So there is no consistent, or at least I haven't been able to get an answer, for my tenants that pay their utility bills. There is no consistent policy on when they shut somebody's electricity off and not. So I've talked to them and said, we need to come up with some type of policy. I have a $1,300 bill that a tenant that I evicted. His bill was about $500. And I was talking to the city about that and said, this person needs to pay this bill. I'm evicting him. He's smoking pot in the apartment. He's partying. He's fighting at night. He's not paying his bill. He went in there and they said, yeah, okay, he has to make a payment. He went in there and paid $85. His bill is now $1,300.
Right. But I'm gonna interrupt, because I own rental properties here in town, but the city, when they get behind and they get in arrears, the property owner also gets a copy of when that, just like that. Then it becomes not really the city's burden, becomes the landowners, the property owner's burden to evict. The city can't go evict somebody for not making a payment. It
No.
becomes the landowner's burden to do that.
I'm not talking about evicting them. I'm talking about, I had a tenant a few years ago. She was a single, hardworking mom, 3 tenants. You guys, she owed you like $600, and you guys shut her electricity off over Thanksgiving. So and she was a single, hardworking mom that paid her bills on time. You guys shut her electricity off so she couldn't cook Thanksgiving dinner. This is a hardworking person that only had a $500 bill. This guy has run up a $1,300 bill, and nothing's been done.
Yeah, well, I'll look into that with the finance department, but the amount of the bill does not necessarily mean it's more the time they're in arrears. So if she only had a $50 bill every month, just for an example, so she's 12 months behind if it's $600. Now, the other guy, if he had a $200 or $300 bill a month, he'd be the same amount in behind. So like I say, it can vary. It doesn't make any difference to me. When I get them, it's not the amount, it's the length of time that they're behind in payments.
Yeah.
And
These
so-
are the same units.
Right.
Well,
But-
yeah, but like I say, it's the length of time. It's not necessarily the dollar amount
Right.
that has to do with it.
There is a clear policy. It may not appear clear because maybe you don't have all the information as far as when those intermediate payments were made, but as the mayor stated, it's not just the single dollar figure. So it's not that we cut off when someone's $300 behind or $600, but rather it's how many days, how many months have intermediate payments been made in those times. And so there is a policy, and the city does follow that policy, but I can't tell you without knowing the details of those two individual tenants. I couldn't tell you why, but there is definitely a clear policy.
But you guys are going to pay part of this bill too, because the water bill, I think I just paid the electric, and I don't have to pay this whole $1,300. When it'll go on my taxes, whatever. Not all of it's going to go to me, it's going to go to you. So you're also not getting paid for this, the city.
Right, there's
So
a
this
portion.
isn't just all me.
Right.
And if we can get these issues dealt with earlier, and, if there's a clear policy, $600 or $700 or,
Like I say,
There
it's not,
isn't,
it's not a
and
dollar.
there-
it's not
there
a
will
dollar
not be.
amount.
yep.
It's not a dollar. amount.
90 days.
When did Chip, when did these happen? Were they in the last year?
This recent one was just a couple months ago.
Okay,
The other one was probably a couple years ago.
okay. I'll go down to the finance department personally, and I'll go check it out with Sally and just see if we can get the background on it to get some clarification on it for you.
Yeah, that would be great.
And then, we can go from there on it.
Were you-
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. John, did you have something?
I have a question for Pete. When we cut people off the electricity, we make them go dark. Don't we have limiting meters we put on?
We do. It depends on the time that they've been delinquent, like Chuck had mentioned, and somewhere in there, the amount comes into play, plus what their ability to pay is. And so that leverage lies with our finance director, and she takes care of those negotiations.
And we have a predetermined policy on this. Limiting meter allows lights to be run and the fan on the
Yep.
furnace and things like that.
Right, keeps the bare essentials on there if there's been good faith.
And Chip, Rodney, I still own some rental properties here in town, and I experienced that too. Here's what I do, and you can do it however you want, but here's what I do. I put all the utilities for the city bills in my name. And then when I get the bills, I take a copy of them, and I give them to the tenants and say, hey, add this to your rent. So then you know if they're current or not, and then so it isn't 3-4 months down the road.
No, the city's awesome about that. They send me these bills. I know when they're behind.
But you would know before that, because then you're collecting it. And like I say, everybody does it differently.
Yep.
But that's what I found. I did it that way, but I thought, well, yeah, people are leaving, and they can run up a pretty good bill by the time they leave, even if you're getting those
Yep.
notices. So that's what I've done in the past.
Yep.
Just personally.
But this
just
is
a little
hurting the
advice.
city too. If these people don't pay their bills.
Yeah,
part of
we have a
this is
list,
on-
we have a long list we go through every year.
Yep.
So, that are delinquent and, yeah, non-collectible, most of them, so. Go ahead.
Were you just gonna?
No, I was covered.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I've taken way more of your time.
No,
than
you're
I
fine.
should have.
We have a short meeting anyway, so, you know,
Right,
just,
yeah.
but anyway, we will, I will, you know, we will get back to you. Do we have your phone somewhere along the way with
I have
this
his,
phone number
You
and
have my
everything else?
email,
Yep.
and I'll email you my phone number too.
Yeah,
you.
but I'll, you know, like I say, I will look into, and Pete, I know will follow up on the road situation and try to keep you informed as to what's going on.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for bringing those issues.
That issue on North Third has been since 1920.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 100 years that we've been struggling with the people who live down there in the city and trying to decide what to do, so it's,
Yeah, we just
I
talked
don't
about it
have the
recently.
answer yet, after 100 years.
We just talked about it recently at a meeting, I thought.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for the last couple of years, the North Third situation, so maybe maybe we can get you guys to secede from the city.
Lower my taxes. That would be awesome.
So anyway, thank you, Rodney, appreciate it. All right, next we will have the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins in detail on page 6 and concludes with the resolution on page 21 and includes the following license applications: a temporary gambling license to the Knights of Columbus for 400 Union Street for August 7th, 2019 to August 11th, 2019. A temporary peddler license to Barbara Lynn, also doing business as Sweet Shop Express, from May 1st, 2019 to 10/31/1019. Following board appointments to Heritage Preservation Commission to Brian Oviatt for 2019 to 2021. Excuse me, plus the the schedule of disbursements for March 7th, 2019 through March 20th, 2019. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion for approval?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
second.
Any questions, comments now? Call the roll, please, Cindy.
Councilmember Pfeiffer,
Aye.
Councilmember Graham,
Aye.
Councilmember Paris,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Harlan,
Aye.
Mayor Seaman.
Aye.
Councilmember Kwame.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. Next, we have unfinished business, which we have none, so we will go to new business. And first up, we have a 2019 equipment certificate purchase. And Pete, luckily you're here tonight.
Yes, Mayor Zeman and City Council, before you, you have a budgeted item, and the reason it is here on your agenda is because it's an equipment certificate purchase. We are looking at replacing a 20-year-old pool heater for the diving pit at the Roy T. Lindenberg Pool. We did advertise as per our policy, and we had two people that were interested in supplying, two companies interested in supplying that, and you can see the cost in front of you. We're satisfied with that cost. It fits within our budget, and we're recommending approval or acceptance of the proposal from Horizon Commercial Pool Supply of Arden Hills. And I'm available for questions if there are any.
Questions? Steve?
You know, we probably discussed this, Mr. Mayor, but I can't recall what the resolution was. But, you know, I've always felt that the equipment certificate was for larger items, you know, that would be amortized over 5 or 6 years. I don't recall anything this small. Was there a reason why this was in the certificate? Equipment, rather
Do
than...
that, or I
Sure,
can?
yeah, we've had several smaller items in there. It really kind of depends on where we're going to put those and what funds we have available to pay for those improvements. As you guys know, the pool is not one that is in the black very often, and so there aren't any funds for capital improvements down there. Everything is a special purchase from that fund.
Well, basically, that's the reason then, is the standalone budget for the swimming pool then?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Roger?
Mr. Moulton, does this include Is there additional costs for installations that we're going to be incurring?
There'll be some odds and ends. We're going to install the unit. We do have staff on hand that can do a majority of that, but we'll have a couple of electrical connections in order to make this thing work for us.
Anything significant?
Not significant. We can do a majority of the work.
Okay.
Anyone else? Susie, could you help? Sorry. Pete, the second one, where is Fred?
Yep.
Where are they located at?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but they are a pool supply company, I believe, out of the Twin Cities.
All right, but so they must have incorporated their bid, the freight into their bid, I would assume, maybe?
Yes.
If they don't have any
Yeah.
freight charges?
I was going to ask the same question if it
Oh,
was.
then I'm kind of
Yeah,
sorry.
they have
Sorry I
our
did.
bid form includes freight, taxes, a variety of different things. They supplied one number at the bottom that was inclusive of all cost.
Okay. All right, Steve?
I just have one question, Mr. Mold. Where is this pump located?
This is inside, behind the front desk of the pool. It's in the mechanical room area. So you have the locker rooms on each side, on the north and south sides there. And this is right behind the desk there that's located in that area.
So is that a heater also then? Or-
Nope. It is just a unit that is on a recirculation pump that heats the water as it comes in and goes back out to the main pool. the pit.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? The resolution authorizing the 2019 equipment certificate purchase, the Pentair PowerMax pool heater, appears on page 23. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions this time? Call the roll, please, Cindy.
Councilmember Graham,
Aye.
Councilmember Paris,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlin,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Kwame,
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have the request for city assistance, and I think we didn't talk about this beforehand, Pete, but if everybody read the memo from Todd, it seems that they're actually changing the scope of their request for this year, or not a lot with the scope, but the times, and therefore eliminating a lot of the other things that have to go along with that, as far as go for one and all that kind of good stuff that they wouldn't have to do, won't have to do this year. I don't know, Pete, if you have anything other than that.
Just the changes that you identified, Mayor, and that is that they'll be done by 1 a.m. They won't be having tents, they won't be staying overnight there. So there's not a need to do the Gopher State 1 calling from that process. They still plan to use the community center, the lobby, the gym, the concession area. Anticipated cost will still be around or slightly under $1,000 from participation from that end, and it's something that we've participated in the past.
Because they've changed that, their insurance, they still need the 1.5 million insurance. Any questions? We've done this, or they've done this for quite a few years now, so it's in June, I believe, right?
June 22nd,
Okay,
21st and 2nd.
21st and early 22nd. Questions? If not, the resolution for the city assistance request for the Relay for Life appears on page 29. Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions now? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Paris,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlin.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Kwame.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. That concludes our new business. Next up, we have reports, and the only thing I have tonight is a proclamation for Women's History Month. And it says, whereas women of St. Peter of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our city in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas women of St. Peter have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the city by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas women of St. Peter have played a unique role throughout the history of the city by providing a large portion of the volunteer labor force. And whereas women of St. Peter were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our city. And whereas women of St. Peter of every race, class, and ethnic background have helped shape every major progressive social change movement. And whereas women of St. Peter have been leaders for the betterment of the city. Now therefore I, Charles Zeman, Mayor of the City of St. Peter, do hereby proclaim March 2019 as Women's History Month in the city, and hereby do call upon the citizens of St. Peter to participate in Women's History Month programs, ceremonies, and activities, including the April 9th, 2019 Women Celebrating Women event with the theme of Visionary Women, Champion of Peace and Nonviolence, in witness thereof. And that is all I have. And Pete, did you have anything that?
I do. I got a couple of things on the flood update. We're starting to see the water in our area go down a little bit. As you guys have known, we've had a couple inches of rain on frozen ground out west, and it did give us a few challenges. There's quite a bit of standing water out there. Most of the storm basins are open. The frost has come out of those, so it gives us a little peace of mind as far as any property damage or additional property damage. And so we're happy with where that's going. And then recently, the Minnesota Rural Water Association voted at their annual conference in St. Cloud. St. Peter water is the best tasting water in the state of Minnesota. And so congratulations to the water utility and their staff. Did an outstanding job of representing us up there, and we'll carry that title for a year. And then finally, our wastewater crew will be up in Brooklyn Park this week, receiving an operations award for our Class A wastewater treatment facility for compliance and the hard work they do there.
Great. Good news. Anybody have anything else to add? Steve?
I just want to note that I see the Public Works folks are out collecting the gravel off the roads now, and that's good to see. That I saw the street sweeper go by this afternoon. I thought he was a tornado. I couldn't even see the vehicle. So it's good to see that they're picking that stuff
Yeah, we
up.
started that process here this
Yeah,
week.
it's good to see that.
John?
I walked out of the house at 5 o'clock today on my way down to the Nickel Cafe, and the color of the sky and the smell of the world and the color of the world and all, I looked around and the feel of it, and this is tornado anniversary week. It just, 21 years later, it still just jumps out at people who live through it, that this is the time of year that it was.
This Friday.
So, 3 days from now is a celebration. I got two things for the people in town. One, if you run into Deb Johnson and Mark Hansen, congratulate them on their daughter's 21st birthday. It being the 21st anniversary of the tornado. And the second thing is, sometime this week you should go and hug your neighbor, because it was the neighbors that took care of each other 21 years ago. And when something like this happens, you don't want to be on speaking terms with your neighbors. You want to be on hugging terms with your neighbors. So, word of advice from someone who lived through it.
All right. I heard a comment, not about St. Peter and the tornado, but I heard a comment the other day that somebody said they always, tried to be friendly, or at least pretend to be friendly to their enemies and give them a hug, because then they know how big to dig the hole in the backyard. So on the reverse side of that, anyway.
That was a good one.
So, anyone else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
21 minutes, Jerry. That's a good one.
Yeah.